Right, let's see what we can get away with. Probably take this off. That needs to be actually a bit further back. So let's see now, how are we doing? Suppose it's time to go. There was definitely a Bond energy back in 2012. Craig's involvement in the Olympics. It was 4 years since Quantum of Solace and the 50th anniversary. In an interview with Jon Favreau, Craig said he wanted to make a Bond film with a capital B. So considering what I mentioned, playing it safe could have been the way to go. Sure, that's what they did with Die Another Day. It made a lot of money, but actually that meant they couldn't play it safe. With 50 years of filmmaking behind them, boundaries had to be pushed. The series had to be questioned. Tropes had to be challenged. Bond himself needed to go through a mission like nothing before. This is how they approach Skyfall. There's a lot of extra information in the background. For example, people might not remember, but between Quantum and Skyfall, MGM went into bankruptcy. For quite a long time, it looked like Bond could be caught in the middle of legal disputes, which meant we might not see a Bond film for a very long time. Fortunately for us, MGM was restructured and Bond went into production. A little before production, obviously, Craig and Sam Mendes were at a party. They'd known each other from working together on Road to Perdition, and as all good stories go, they were about 10 deep on the pints. When Mendes asked Craig, what's happening to Bond? Basically, Craig offered him the position as director, which he wasn't in a position to do himself. However, it worked out well. The producers agreed. This was interesting, the first time the series had an Oscar-winning director. So needless to say, there was an expectation things would be different this time, or at least Sam Mendes would bring his own spin on Bond. On a side note, some people weren't happy that an auteur director was at the helm this time. It's a quiet position by many that your gun-for-hire directors are better for the series. But I believe there's room for both. A set of hands that are consistent and will deliver a script on time and under budget, like John Glenn, who directed 5 Bond films. And maybe more artistic approach, hands-on, someone who wants to push, challenge, and maybe reinvent the series. I'm not trying to insult any type of filmmaker and their process, but the series has room to move in and out of different types, experiment with itself, and then other times just play it safe. Although when you make a film on this scale, there is no such thing as playing it safe. So a lot of hands touch this script. But the final credits went to Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, who've worked on every Bond film since The World Is Not Enough, and John Logan. Logan was new to the series, but he'd worked on Gladiator, The Last Samurai, The Aviator, just to name some films. Meanwhile, Mendes had been there from a huge part of the development process, so his fingerprints are all over this script too. There's a question that you ask when you're someone like Mendes trying to embark on making a film that has so much history. How do I make it different? Has James Bond done it all? So what do you do? I think this was the aim. Take a James Bond in his prime, open in a classic location, give us exciting action sequences, even inject a few one-liners and Bond moments. Make the audience comfortable. Make them think, oh, this is James Bond, he's unstoppable. Then a twist. The ultimate Bond fails. He gets shot, loses the mission. The point of this is to make the audience sit up in their seat, and then the film asks the question, who is James Bond? Bond is washed up and living in Turkey somewhere, but duty is centred to him. When he sees London and MI6 get attacked, he returns. But the world is new. A bearded James Bond returns to a new world. The message is clear. This isn't the same Bond that we have known. He's not fit, not as confident, and the world has changed. It's modern, cutting edge, and he's a relic of times gone past. This is part of the genius of the film. The filmmakers give us classic Bond at the start, then strip him of everything. This is the 50th anniversary film. So the filmmakers ask the question of Bond and the series. Is it out of step? Is it old? Does it even need to exist? And we travel through this mission with Bond, who is on a journey to rediscover himself. It takes some tropes of the series and throws them away, but also takes others and shows them to be vitally important to who this character is. Bond meets Q. He's given a gun and a radio. Maybe this Bond doesn't need gadgets as much as he used to. We have to talk about Javier Bardem. A great villain. In this movie, Bond is low-tech and Silva is high-tech. The quality of a Bond movie very often sits on its villain. Silva is like a distorted mirror image version of Bond. They both went off in slightly different directions and ended up in completely different places. There's a great scene where Silva does a long walk and monologue in front of Bond. Bond doesn't say much, except states one of the themes of the film.
Resurrection.
Even back in MI6, Bond has been questioned. Mallory asks Bond, why not stay dead? Why would he return? Is he not too old? A question many critics ask of the series whenever a new film comes out. This film throws obstacles in front of Bond from every direction, internal and external, MI6 and the outside world. But this film wouldn't work if it was just throwing everything out and putting Bond down. It shows James Bond's slowly return, gives us confidence that the hero we know is still there. After a very classic shaving scene, we finally see Bond in the tuxedo again. There's the ending action sequence where Bond is like Bond again. But for me, the climax of this movie isn't the ending in Scotland. It's the Tennyson scene. In this scene, we as the audience are conflicted. We know he's James Bond, but throughout this whole film, he's been unfit, can't shoot properly, the villain seems to have the upper hand, and Bond has always been on the back foot. So when Craig runs out of that underground station and goes to save M, I remember sitting in the cinema and thinking, oh my god, they're going to kill her right now. Bond won't get there in time. Silva's already there. He has the element of surprise. She's reading bloody poetry. That's a film execution. But then you listen to the words from the poem. And this is Bond. This is what the film is trying to say. Yes, he's old, out of date, not as good as he used to be, maybe not as good as the competition, but James Bond will never give up.
But strong in will.
And that's why he's the best.
To strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
So now we know what Bond is, and there's only one way he can take on this high-tech villain. Get the Aston Martin, something familiar for the audience to get back on side, and go back in time. So the question this film was asking, who is James Bond? The film brings us to the place where James Bond grew up, the Scottish Highlands. It is there he can take on this enemy. The sentiments of the film are reiterated. Sometimes the old ways are best. The Aston Martin is destroyed. It seems symbolic. For the series to continue, some things have to go. Bond doesn't need the Aston. In any scenario, he can make the most of what he has. So through this brilliant action sequence, he's put through hell, but comes out the other end. It wasn't without great personal cost. We see Bond on the rooftop in London, looking out. Then this leads to a classic sequence that will be the opening of any original Bond film. It's then we realise Bond is back. And not only that, we know he's here to stay. So we get the gun barrel. Brilliant. A classic ending. So how was it received? Skyfall was the most financially successful Bond film to date. Currently, it's the 28th highest grossing film of all time. At the time of release, it was the 007th. I'm not joking. The film was met with critical praise too. The reason I say this is because when I left the cinema back then, it seemed like everything was right. The story, the time, the place, Skyfall seemed to tap into it all. And most importantly, it tackled a legend. Probably made him better. Well, that was a video I really wanted to get off my chest. A discussion on the themes and layers of Skyfall, which I think makes it such an interesting film. I can't let this end without giving Roger Deakins a shout out. He shot probably the most beautiful looking James Bond film. You were robbed of an Oscar that year, Rog. We're just getting closer and closer to November, so I'm going to keep talking about Bond. That trailer last week, I'm still on a high from it. But for now, please subscribe, like the video if you thought it was interesting. If you have an idea for a video, a subject, whether it's Bond or beyond, just comment below and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.